I don't think there's a comedian alive today that reaches the level of candor that Bill Burr has. Whether you're watching his initial stand-up work or his Netflix specials, his conversational yet blunt attitude is oddly charming. To me, the best way a comedian can connect with their audience is to act as if they already know them. There's something about an entertainer who can go up on stage and immediately get you to think that you've been lifelong pals. His stories may be side-splitting, but it's the invisible connection with the audience that keeps them interesting, allowing his sketches to keep you engaged throughout. He has an endless supply of great anecdotes ranging from his wife's unannounced dog adoption to, and I quote,
"An epidemic of gold-digging whores in this country."
Yet, one of my personal favorite traits of his is the ability to convince and misdirect an audience. From Bo Burnham to John Mulaney, a comedian's job is not only to get you to laugh, but to get you to think differently about certain subjects, to keep you guessing at all times. One way to get this done is to misdirect the audience on where the current topic is, and where it'll end up. To me, Bill Burr's best work to date is the helicopter story from his 2014 special, I'm Sorry You Feel That Way, a title that couldn't be more appropriate considering what is to follow. One of his characteristics is his specific views of masculinity, believing a man should be the only one to oversee what to do with his life, despite the concerns of others, and being emotionally distant for logical purposes, one that comes from his less than stellar fatherly upbringing, which can be seen in his relatively successful Netflix comedy series F is for Family, in which Bill plays an emotionally unavailable, easily angered yet supportive father, reminiscent of Red from That 70s Show, a character that embodies many aspects of Bill's personal life growing up.
Your mom's home from work. Supper time.
What are we having?
More free food. What are you bitching about?
I myself have a father who one would consider traditional, who believes a man should be focused on the benefit of himself and those he provides for over any emotional benefits, who also grew up in a household with less than ideal conditions. These mentalities don't come out of nowhere, they're deeply ingrained in the events from their childhood, something that Bill points out himself in the same special.
Look, I didn't come from a family, I don't know about you guys, I didn't come from a touchy-feely, call me when you get there, none of that shit. First time my mom hugged me, I think it was like once when I was little, and then when I moved out, that was it.
Whether you find this opinion to be irrelevant or necessary doesn't matter. It's simply an insight into Bill's viewpoint on how life works, which can allow for a difference in perspective the more his beliefs become the minority. This is a key component to understanding the build-up to and during the helicopter story. The story is all about making sure your expectations are always flipped, or making sure you're thinking differently about the circumstances of others. Bill starts off by making it sound as if it's going to center around a man inheriting his father's tour business.
30 years without incident. Hands the business off to his son. The American dream. I built it up for 30 years. Here you go, son. Make the family and the family name proud. All right, Dad, I love you. Right?
He builds up enough understanding of the situation for you to know that something isn't quite right. This is the first misdirect of the story. It creates a rapport with the audience to believe that the son will be the main subject of the narrative, when in fact, he is just an unfortunate bystander. This is when he introduces two crucial details.
This poor kid, 5 days in, he's supposed to give a tour to a couple, only the dude shows up.
Immediately, whether they know it or not, the audience has a collective moment where they all go, "Oh no."
So he takes this guy up, 10 minutes into the tour, the dude fucking jumped out. Yeah.
This is due in part to the details given prior to this, because he made sure to emphasize the time in between these events, and since you already became aware of how important this was to the pilot, it makes what happens next both empathetic and hilarious.
Sure, all right, if you look out the left side of the aircraft, that's Orange County. There's over 27 miles of beaches. Put your seatbelt back on. 27 miles of beaches. Was established as a county in 1903. Sir, please don't open the door. Sir, what are you doing? Sir, no, don't!
Despite the hilarity of how it's conveyed, it's the subtle details of his performance that shine, such as the quick look to the husband's seatbelt before looking again and asking to put it back on, or when he's grabbing onto him that he's always looking forward or slightly to the side, as if he was making sure to keep the helicopter level. The first time you see him reenact the incident, he goes into detail as to how the pilot, and how frankly we all would have reacted.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god, what the fuck? What the fuck? Fuck!
As the story's intensity is at an all-time high, he switches perspectives to an air traffic controller to alleviate some of the energy, serving as both a moment of relaxation for the audience and a way to misdirect yet again.
Air traffic control, I don't know who's on this frequency, but you really need some kind of fucking helicopter!
By having the audience believe the intensity is lowered, this makes his sharp response even more hilarious by bringing it back to the same level of energy as before. What's even more impressive, however, is Bill's ability to make suicide seem empowering. To clarify, I do not condone suicide in any way, shape, or form. If you're considering such action, please seek the help of a medical professional. Yet, by giving the audience details about the jumper's terminally ill and painful condition, it reframes his somber decision as one of empowerment, making it a tale of a man who decided to take life into his own hands, which works into Bill's view of masculinity, tying in the themes mentioned earlier into one cohesive narrative.
You know what I love about him? Not only did he make the decision, he didn't go out like some pussy, right? This guy went out like a man. Take me up in a chopper, I'm looking at the land I love, and then I'm jumping out like a superhero. I loved it.
He gives the man a larger-than-life persona by tapping into the notion that external circumstances should not decide the life of an individual. Rather, the person in question should always, without question, be the one to determine their own lot in life.
I can't imagine how elated he must have been on that helicopter ride up after finally, just taking back control of his life. Like, fuck you, disease, I decide. Ripping tubes out, gets a burger, shotguns a beer, take me up in the chopper. He probably had his fucking foot on the dashboard.
This is when the skit goes from good to great, as Bill uses the microphone in a way that few rarely do, to enhance the joke. Recreating the incident again from the husband's perspective, Bill implements the Doppler effect, adding in another level of depth to the routine. For those unaware, the Doppler effect is basically the distance of an object creating noise, and the person hearing it changes depending on their position relative to that sound, meaning in this case, the microphone is used to do 3 things. 1. Give the impression of a distracted suicidal husband.
Over 27 miles of beach, just put your seatbelt back on.
2. Have the pilot sound further away as he attempts to free himself from his grasp.
Established as a county in 1903. Sir, please don't try to open the door. No!
And 3. Using the act of falling out of the helicopter weight by moving the microphone from one side of his mouth to the other and imitating the sound of gushing wind.
Don't!
Whether you're a fan of his comedy or not, this is an incredible showcase of not letting anything go to waste on stage. And after all of that, detailing the effort this poor man went through to take charge of his shortening existence, is when Bill drops a bomb.
I left out one small thing. There is one small thing. The guy fucking lived. Yeah.
The first time I heard the unanimous surge of disappointed groans from the audience, I'm pretty sure I cracked a rib. With just one line, the dynamic of the entire skit has changed, misdirecting the crowd yet again by not only revealing an even worse scenario for the person in question, but by showing he purposely omitted a crucial detail.
Just on the way down, he's got to be thinking, 3 more seconds of pain, 2 more seconds. Wham!
Making the audience even more sympathetic to his situation. And it doesn't help that despite his comment on the man's heroic self-imposed decision, he ultimately looked foolish as he fell out of the vehicle.
Yeah, they were out over the ocean, 500 feet up. You'd think that would be enough. But witnesses said it looked like a dummy was falling out of the air, so that sounds like a hell of an impact.
So when he finally ends the story by saying,
"It has a happy ending though. He later died at the hospital." That's right.
the audience truly believes it. It's a horrible, even macabre way of looking at the whole situation, because Bill has painted such a detailed description of this man's suffering that you end up thinking, yeah, I'm glad he's dead. Which is such a horrible thought to have, making it all the more hysterical. Bo Burr to me is one of many examples of what comedians are there to do for society. To get us not only to laugh at the absurdities of everyday life, but to change our perspective on situations we may have written off with simple labels. Instead of seeing a terminally ill man's suicide attempt as tragic, he framed it as a last-ditch effort of individualism. While his specials all have a wide range of examples to choose from, the helicopter story, to me, is his finest work to date. When you go to one of his shows, you know exactly what you're getting into. Whether you find him funny or annoying, one thing's for sure. He's just telling you as it is.